Tomorrow, Bryan Kohberger will be officially sentenced for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students after striking a plea deal earlier this month. The victims' families will also have the opportunity to give statements directly to Kohberger, who is expected to receive 4 life sentences. Joining me now from Idaho is Fox News contributor and criminal defense attorney Donna Rotunno. Donna, good morning to you. So ahead of this sentencing tomorrow, President Trump has weighed in on this case. He wrote this on Truth Social. These were vicious murders with so many questions left unanswered. While life imprisonment is tough, it's certainly better than receiving the death penalty. But before sentencing, I hope the judge makes Kohberger, at a minimum, explain why he did these horrible murders. There are no explanations. There is nothing. So, Donna, do you expect that to take place? And what can we expect tomorrow?
Well, good morning, Carly. Thank you for having me. I don't expect that to happen. I do think the president echoes the sentiments of all of us. I think we all believe that we should have some answers about why he went into that house, why he targeted this home, specific girls, what made him go there. And unfortunately, I don't think we are going to get those answers. And the judge cannot compel Mr. Kohberger to speak. The only way that could have happened was if the prosecutors asked to make that part of his plea deal, and that did not happen here. In terms of what to expect tomorrow, we are going to listen to the families give their grueling accounts of what their lives look like without their loved ones. They have the opportunity to do that in person, speaking from their hearts, reading statements. They can give the prosecutors statements that the prosecutors read. I anticipate that that will take a large portion of the day tomorrow, because I'm sure many of the family members of each of these 4 people would like to give their accounts and let the court and all of us know how they're feeling.
Yeah, understood. How binding is this plea deal, Donna? Meaning, is there any way the judge does not honor it and hands down the death penalty?
No, there's no way that happens, especially given the fact that the plea was taken, and as part of that plea deal, they talked about the parameters of what that plea deal looks like. The judge does not have the ability at this point to change that. He would have rejected the plea if he didn't feel that 4 consecutive life sentences were appropriate. That would have happened on the last court date.
Well, we're also reading this that Kohberger, of course, waived his right to appeal as part of this plea agreement, but the judge said he still has the right to do so, citing the U.S. Supreme Court case Garza versus, ironically, Idaho. He says the right to appeal does not go away because of the waiver. So what should we know about that?
So the appeal rights are interesting. In terms of that case talks about your rights under the 6th Amendment. And the 6th Amendment deals with criminal cases, your rights under the Constitution in criminal cases, things like right to a fair trial, right to a trial by jury. So some of those things he waived. So all of the things that he waived in order to take a plea will not be subject to appeal. However, if there was an ineffective assistance of counsel, or he felt that his lawyers did not completely apprise him of what he was looking at or what the circumstances were, or all of the evidence against him, those are things he could potentially raise. Now, if you remember, during the plea, they did painstakingly go through those questions to him. Are you happy with your representation? Did your lawyers explain things to you? So I think the judge tried to do a good job, at least to circumvent that possibility. But, you know, you can always file an appeal for any reason, whether it's accepted or rejected, obviously, is another story.
That's a good point.
But yeah, that exists.
Okay, and you know, the judge did say that this hearing tomorrow is expected to last all day, and he's willing to stretch it into a second day to give the victims' families, everybody who wants to speak, enough time to do that. So I'm sure there are going to be no words to describe how heartbreaking the impact statements are going to be. And speaking of heartbreaking, there's also this case involving a 9-year-old little girl whose name is Melina Fradalin. She's from Canada. There was an Amber Alert issued for her in upstate New York, and then her body was found in a wooded area, and now her father has been charged with murdering her. He has no prior history of abuse or criminal record at all. So what do you think happened here?
Such an interesting case, and so far not a lot for us to know, other than the fact that he claimed that she had been abducted, and then based on the police investigation, they've obviously determined that as of now that's not credible information. But they seemed to find the body very quickly. I think she was reported missing one night, and by the next afternoon they found the body about 50 miles away. What a sad, awful story for this 9-year-old. I do think it's interesting that what we're seeing right now is a second-degree charge with concealment of the body. I'm not so sure what evidence they have as of this point to determine that second degree is appropriate versus a first-degree murder. So I guess we're going to find that out as time goes on.
Yeah, tragic all around. Donna Rotuno, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Carly. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Absolutely.